welcome to Pep Talk Podcast. I feel a little bit like a newscaster, like my younger self would be playing dress up or something right now and be like, hello and welcome to the Pep Talk Podcast. But yeah. So, hello, Heather.
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. So, this is our very first podcast.
Very excited to be the first.
Yes. And so you have been such an integral part of like the making this dream come true kind of thing. And this going from just like a passion project out of my living room to like making this really happen. So I just thank you so much for being a part of this with me and for making it come to fruition with me and to just, be here today to have this conversation.
Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. It's so exciting to see how passionate you are about this and then you extending that hand to say, I want you to be a part of this that's so close to me. So I feel honored to be just, a part of it all.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
But so since this is the first, I wanted to make sure that all of our viewers and people who want to be a part of this knows kind of like what this Pep Talk passion project really is all about. So First, can you just talk about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Sure.
And all of that.
Yeah. I work at the church because you and I work together there. But I am a youth minister full-time at Church of the Good Shepherd. And so that is my full-time job. This is Pep Talk part-time. And beyond being a youth and young adult minister, which most people probably don't even have any idea what that is. So it's involved in service work, it's involved in prayer, it's involved in walking with people in their personal journeys, their spiritual journeys. So it's way more than like pizza and games, which is what most people think of youth ministry at the church. Or in the complete opposite end of that is like, oh, the creepy mind control that you people do at the church. And I'm like, I don't do mind control. I don't know what. And I am also a longtime advocate. I have two brothers with autism. And so I worked for 16 years in the field of special education as program coordinator, as teaching assistant, as vocational aide. So I've kind of done a lot of different things in my time. And so I think that who I am kind of at my core is a person who sees hurt, who sees injustice, who sees people that can't speak up for themselves and wants to speak up for them. But I'm also somebody that struggles to do that for myself. And so I think in recognizing the duality of I can be the biggest mouth in the room for somebody else, and yet I can be the most timid for myself. That's kind of where that duality comes from, of recognizing the joys and the sorrows of life, or the abilities and the limitations of oneself. And so I think that's part of what really attracts me to the Pep Talks passion project, is being able to hold space for so many truths to exist at one time.
So speaking on that, how this duality of the joy of life and also the sorrow of life sometimes, how that is infused into this project, can you talk a little bit about what this project is and what inspired you to start all of this?
Yeah, so talk about like the joys and sorrows of life. So my godmother Patty is just a force of nature. I mean, there's no other way to describe her. She is the sun and the moon and the ocean, and she's just everything. And so she was diagnosed with terminal cancer in December 2015 and decided that she wanted to make a video of her last words, preemptive of looking very sick or feeling very sick. And so Sean and I went to North Carolina to record her last words. And because Sean and I had done a short film a week for an entire year, she kind of had this notion that we would be able to like direct her through the experience, which I was like, why do you think, what? Like,
I've never done this before.
Exactly. Why do you think I could do this? but she had all the confidence in the world in me and in us and our ability to be able to tell her story and to be joyful with her in that moment, but also to bear the sorrow and the weight and the burden of kind of like the crystal ball of seeing into the future kind of thing, which was a lot. So she had kind of come up with this idea. We loved P.S. I Love You, the movie, and she had come up with this idea that she wanted to give P.S. I Love You boxes to loved ones, with cards that she would write out. And it kind of stemmed off of me and conversations with me, and just kind of me talking about how low my depression became, and the grief of losing her mother, my nanny, that I got so swallowed up in that grief that I really didn't feel connected to life at that point. I felt way more connected to death. And it was kind of like, if I can go in after you, I'm coming, right, kind of thing, which was really hard. And I had never experienced anything like that before. So I think Patty created the P.S. I Love You packages really to like keep me
grounded,
okay, centered, whatever in life after she was gone. And so she actually, like, I have birthday cards from her until the year 2023.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, just because she was like, I want you to remember how loved you are, and I'm connected to you. And there have been some cards that she's written that are like, I hate this. I wish I didn't have this card. This, like, is not what I need in this moment because it's written 5 years ago. Like, this sucks. Mm-hmm. But then there's other things that I'm like, God, it's like she was right here in this moment and wrote this, like, in response to the words that just came out of my mouth. Like, this is the trippiest thing. And what's funny is in one of the cards, she actually wrote, like, your mother says that you're not excited to get this, that you're kind of weirded out by it. Well, too bad. I would have loved to have had this from Nanny. So you're going to like it one day. And I totally had that moment recently of like, wow, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this. This is like just so beautiful. So it all kind of started with her. But what's interesting is like she passed in August 2017, and it's taken me until January 2021 to figure out like what could I possibly do to encapsulate this vibrant, amazing, like loving more than anything else in her kind of person. And also like, is Patty bottleable, so to speak? You know, right, what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like for her to give it to me and have a relationship with me, is it the same for me to give to a stranger? And so I just started thinking that like, you know what? Patty loved creating packages. She always like the tiniest little details and putting all sorts of color encoding. Oh, and then washi tape. Oh, and then I'm going to draw all over this box. Like it was always an occasion when a Patty package would come, and it was always so exciting. And I just thought like, God, if there's a way that I can take her love of art and my love of art and her amazing, like just devotion to handwritten letters and making packages really special for people. I just thought like, what a perfect way to be able to celebrate her life, but also to take things that I love and meld them together with her, and to meld it together with my nanny and different people in my life, because I just think it's so important to kind of recognize like what you're made of. And I feel like in losing two of the most important women in my life, I had to realize what I'm made of, that I can exist beyond them, and that I'm not just made up of their legacy. I get to live my life in pieces of their story without having to uphold the mantle of their story. Because at one point in time, their legacy felt very like too big a burden to carry. Like they were both such incredible women. How could I possibly like
fill their shoes? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So much. So yeah, it's just, it's amazing how it took so long to realize what the passion project was. But once I realized what it was, it just all fell into place. That artists were saying yes, okay, we're going to buy package, okay, we're going to design this, and what about that, and get in touch with that. I mean, it's amazing to me that what was conceived on January 9th is now a small business and a podcast and like all of these things that just, I'm perpetually pinching myself because it just feels so not real still.
Yeah, I noticed in the newsletter, in the first newsletter, you wrote like a timeline of how things happened. Is there anything else you wanted to mention? Like, this moment was like, this means I'm ready to do it. This means I'm ready to do it.
I work out of the Community Growth Center in Port Jeff Station, and I had kind of like mentally prepared for meeting with the executive director Michael, and to kind of ask him to like mentor me, sponsor me. He created his own non-for-profit. I was imagining that Pep Talks would be a nonprofit, and so I was kind of like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I believe in this, and I know that the world needs it. So how can I do this? And I kind of went through the different trajectories that I saw this going and the way in which I could see it building. And that day, that Saturday that I met with him, that he was like, you can like store your stuff here, you can build your packages here, you can do whatever you need to do here. Like, yeah, of course. That was like a major turning point, because one of the things he said to me is, I love that you have so many strategies and that you're like trying to build this systematically, and that you're going to give away the packages for free to some of your friends just to get some feedback. But where is the leap of faith? And it just like, it struck me so much, because I was like, I don't know. I mean, what? Like, it is a leap of faith because I'm doing it. And he's like, yeah, but if this is a thing, like, just let it be. Don't try to strategize every last ounce of it. And I was like, oh, wow. And so then all of a sudden I had friends and family reaching out saying they wanted to purchase boxes, and they refused to not pay for the boxes. And I was like, I guess we're doing this. So like, that was kind of a really strange moment. And I don't remember the date exactly, but oh wait, I do. It was February 24th because it was Sean's mom's birthday.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So it felt very like connected to all the women that are my guardian angels now, that Ellie was like, come on now, go on. So it was a really special thing to be able to say like, all right, whatever this is, it is, you know, like I'm not trying to be the next anybody. I'm just trying to honor the people that I love and to make some people feel good.
So we've been talking about these packages and the ones that you've received from Patty. Can you describe what is in this package? Like, what are the contents inside of it that someone could purchase or receive as a gift?
Yeah. So I like to kind of refer to it in vague terms because each month is going to be different. So the first month was P.S. I Love You. And this month is Empowered Women, Empower Women. And next month is, just kidding, tune in next month. But next month is, like, each month is going to be very personal to me, but I'm going to curate it in a way that is broader to people that can feel connected to it. So what you may find inside of a Pep Talk package, especially in the Bold Babe package specifically, because that is our largest package, is what we call a multi-sensory experience for the senses of the soul. We're trying to actually engage all 5 senses of touch, taste, smell, sight, all of the good stuff. But then we also want to take it a step further and go into like sense of intuition, sense of self. And there might be journal prompts one month, or there might be a meditation, or there might be just different things to engage you in self-reflection as well. But there's also a lot of like really whimsical, goofy things like, wow, there's a squishy heart in one month. And this month there's an Easter egg with like gooey, like gack in it and stuff. And so it's just all about like connecting to a playful side, connecting to an imaginative, creative side, and connecting to like that comfort really. It's just kind of like recognizing what you need, and it just kind of tries to speak to a lot of different ways of self-care, but not in the traditional self-care way. Like I think that Patty was kind of like an innovator when it comes to self-care, because she would send out these packages that were not like, Christine, here's a mud mask, put it on your face. But she would just kind of send things that were like the most random things that you would just laugh and be like, it's food stickers with faces on it. Why would I need this in my life? I don't know, but I do. Like, and so it's a lot of just like fun and random and goofy things as well. So like we kind of span the gamut, so to speak, of like the fun, but also the like more introspective, or like handmade art is such a big focus of this. And I feel like I talked about that a little bit already, but like just to kind of hit that point home, like I am trying so hard to find inspiring artists, to support small businesses, and with a specific intention of really trying to uplift female-run businesses, because I think that there is just such a disparity. And so to really just highlight those small businesses, it's easy to shop big, right? Like it's cheaper for sure to shop big, but by shopping small, I'm supporting somebody's family. And I've had Zooms with artists from across the country that are like, I have a daughter, and you, especially during this pandemic, are helping me support my family. So knowing that it's connected to such a personal level really makes a difference for me. And I think in the packages too, like you see it in the packages that like each thing is like handpicked by me and handmade by artists. And so I really like that element of it.
I wanted to talk about, you'd mentioned earlier that the world needs this. There's like a need for it. Can you talk about how this package and the contents inside sets it apart from some other subscription packages, and why you think the world needs specifically something like this?
Yeah, so I've tried to do a little bit of research. I can't say that I've sampled every box from, every corner of the earth. I'm sure I have not. Yeah. But from what I've seen, there is a lot of, we got you, girl, kind of things. And there's a lot of self-care things. And there's a lot of even like therapeutic based things. But there is not necessarily things are hard. We know they're hard. I'm in the hard right there with you. I'm struggling right there with you. But these packages are almost like art therapy for me, that I get to put this together for somebody else with great prayer and great intention, and that they are able to receive it knowing that somebody is pouring love into this for them. And I think that like that connection when we can't physically be together, that connection when we are missing our loved ones, that connection when we are feeling so disconnected, I think it is uniquely important now, after a year of being in this pandemic, to really be able to say, I love you and I know you're hurting, but I want to be here in it with you. And so we seek to be able to kind of cultivate packages for not just the monthly curations. This is going to be more in the future, but like maybe a grief box. And so it's not just sympathy as in like directly following the person's passing, but maybe you want to send a grief package in response to like the first anniversary or the person's birthday. It's their first birthday with them not physically on this plane with us. And so you want to do something special to honor them. And so you're going to want to have something really happy to celebrate them, but you're also going to maybe need some space for some sad feelings about them not being there. And so again, it's just that holding the duality that I think is something that like, humble brag, I guess, that like I am uniquely capable of doing. I think because I am somebody that has experienced immense and profound joy and profound love. But I've also known deep and profound pain and struggle. And so I think that because of both of those things, it has made me who I am, that I have the ability and the capacity to be empathetic towards people in your average situations, that I just want to be able to kind of meet people where they're at, even if I don't physically meet them, just to be able to say like, hey, you're gonna be okay. And even if you're not okay for a while, if you keep going, you're gonna get there. And just to know that there's like somebody on the other side of these notes or this package that has been through hard times themselves and is not just like, hey, all right, finger guns, we got you, okay. Like, I really believe that like toxic positivity is so damaging because it kind of sucks the space for the sadness out. Like, you have to be happy and you have to be okay and buck up and pick up your big girl pants and whatever. And it's just like, that's not always real life. Like, it's just not. Like, sometimes you need to cry. Sometimes you need to like get upset about something. So I just think like having that community, which is really like what I seek to create, is a community of people that are all a part of our Instagram community or a part of our like Pep Talk Package crew, whatever. That they would be a part of that and kind of spread that outward, that feeling of compassion and empathy and understanding of how two things can exist at the same time, and something can be beautiful and something can be horrible all at once. I think is just really powerful.
I want to touch on, you were mentioning community and how you hope to grow the Pep Talk Package community from people who are buying it, people who are receiving it, and creating that sense of community. But I know that you're also trying to support different artists and create a community of artists, and also giving back to the community is another pillar of this project. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that and the different communities you're trying to support and trying to build.
Yeah. So for the P.S. I Love You collection, we focused in on Galentine's Day. And so everything was very much like love themed and stuff like that. But we really wanted to focus in on platonic love. And that way it was not like beating you over the head if you are single, or if you are like not yet in a committed relationship and you're kind of like, I wish Valentine's Day was more, and you know, all that stuff. So we tried to just kind of celebrate in a way. But we had Lisa, which is Notes of Love by Lisa, on Instagram and on Etsy. She designed a hand painted card of Patty. So she painted the sky, and then Michelle Alvia, who does our like graphic design work for us, she designed our logo, and she also designed Patty on the card. And then we had some people got a hand needle felted ornament from Armenia. Oh. And so like that was an international artist highlight that I don't know how to say her name, but Morel, I think. And she works with this other woman, Tamar. And so Tamar kind of coordinates the efforts of all of the women artisans in the area to be able to send out to different areas all over the world. And Auntie Ari is amazing. Auntie Ari's Apothecary is on Instagram. And Ari just really infuses energy into her products in such a beautiful way, even in their packaging, even in their attention to detail of things. So Ari gave us candles with hand-pressed flowers on the outside of them, and all completely natural balms that they made as well. So it was just really, really cool to be able to put all of that into one package and say like, all of these amazing people came together to make these things that I went, yes, 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 give me, and then give them out to people. And this month was a lot of seeking out special things with women on it. So I got some stickers and like labels that have Amanda Gorman on it. and have I'm speaking from Kamala Harris, and have of course, my gosh, RBG is represented. So it's just a lot of like important women. Eleanor Roosevelt with like one of Patty's all-time favorite quotes was, "Well-behaved women rarely make history."
Love it.
So
Love it.
like it's kind of a really cool thing that like a package that I'm making includes this goofy little card with stickers on it of Eleanor Roosevelt, which is still in some way tied to Patty. So like people don't know all of the thought that I put into each element that goes into these things, but I'm trying to just look at all of that to tell a story. So it's cool because in addition to the artist, there's also the nonprofit and community piece that you had brought up too. And so for February's collection, we did P.S. I Love You Day, Inc., which is two sisters that actually lost their dad to suicide when they were in high school. And they set out to memorialize their dad by spreading awareness, by suicide prevention work, by talking about anti-bullying measures in schools, by talking about the importance of mental health awareness, that when people are struggling, you cannot exploit that. That has to be like respected as so sacred, because you could push somebody over the edge. And so kindness, it can't just be anti-bullying, it has to be kindness. And so they are based here on the island. And so we were super excited to be able to support them. And they were kind enough to give us these P.S. I Love You bracelets. And so I carry a little piece of them and their dad and that legacy with me. And then this month we're actually doing ODE, which is Open Door Exchange. It is connected to the Setauket Presbyterian Church. And so one of our friends, Eva, is a intern there. And Eva does incredible work through social work, through her internship. And so they were having a large fundraising event. And so I selected them because they do incredible work of trying to collect donations of furniture to be able to give it to people that are in need. Some of which might be women leaving domestic abuse situations, some of which might be people who are below the poverty line. So it's important to kind of look at what the work that the organization does, and to be able to kind of like, I'm not just giving a donation because it's some random charity. It's something that I specifically know somebody at a grassroots level, or I have experienced their work firsthand and can appreciate them. And so it's very, very handpicked in that way as well.
So we're about a month and a half or 2 months like into the creation of this organization. I'm sure there have been a lot of challenges that you faced. What have been some of the hardest things in this process?
I mean, my heart is way bigger than my budget. So there's that. And also, like, I have no business background. I have nonprofit background, which is why I wanted to make this a nonprofit, because I just thought that was kind of the best route to go. I want to do good. I'm not trying to like be in it to make money. And then in speaking to several artists for their opinion on things, because they're small businesses, but they look at their small business as ministry. Why did you decide to make this a business? And they actually talked about, specifically in my role, if I'm a nonprofit and I'm waiting for donations to come in, or I'm writing a grant to try to get money to come in, then I can pay my artists. I won't be able to send out packages because I'll just be waiting on money.
Right.
And so as a small business, obviously I have to keep generating money somehow to fuel the business, right. But to be able to kind of meet the need of, again, those small artists and those small businesses was important to me. And so I think trying to just figure out the business end of things, the tech end of things, marketing in a way that feels very authentic for me, because I'm a very relational person. And so like, I believe in marketing. I believe it's important, but I also don't believe in like hard sell. Like, for example, somebody put in an order and I was like, is this the month you want to do this? And they were like, yeah, no, totally. And then I was like, are you sure? Because there's a really great theme coming up in a few months that totally, like, you would love it and it would apply to you. And
you'll get so much more out of it.
Yes, right. Exactly. And so, like, I turned away business because I didn't believe in the, like, to me, the integrity of this is so important that I don't want to be trying to, like,
grab a dollar where you can.
Exactly. Because it's just, what is the point of that?
Right.
So, I guess it's just, what was the question?
Just challenges.
I was like, am I even answering the question anymore? I don't know what to say. Yeah. I think the challenge also was like, in February, I gave it to my closest friends and family. And for me, at the time that I was designing everything, it wasn't a business. It was, here is a gift from my heart to you. But then once they received it is when the wheels started turning of like, wow, should this be a business? And so I was asking them for feedback, and they gave me very good critical feedback that made sense in terms of like, you can't make this so much about you and so much about Patty and so much about like your people that nobody else is a part of the story. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, you're right. And they were right. And I do know that I need to take steps to kind of like grow beyond my narrow perspective from the original package. But it was also difficult to accept that because I was like, I was just pouring my heart out and this is a legacy and oh my gosh. So like, it was difficult to negotiate some of the emotions related to that. But again, like that's all part of the growing pains of this. And I think a major, I don't know if I would call it a success, because I don't think it's a success, but a major growth realization for me is the ability to sit in the growing pains. I feel like in the past it would have been, I've done this wrong, this is going terribly, and I would have been so caught up in my own anxiety of like trying to make everything perfect that I would have driven myself like out of business and out of my mind, and that would have been it. But I'm really just trying to kind of give myself grace and space and to just kind of go, okay, it's going to be better next time. And to just keep learning and keep growing. Because it's not easy to have a part-time business while working full-time, while trying to have a life, so it's a juggling act for sure, but one that I'm really happy to be able to do.
So I know one of your main ways to get out the news about this project is through your Instagram page that you created. Now, can you talk a bit about the newest project you've been putting out on the Instagram, the Bold Babes project? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I love alliteration.
If we couldn't tell.
Exactly. I often even speak in like alliterative terms. So for anyone who doesn't know what alliteration is, it's when it's a repetitive sound. So like Bold Babe, Pep Talk Package. Exactly. So it's just like a nerdy thing that I have. So I find myself just kind of thinking in alliteration. And I was thinking about like, okay, Women's History Month, but not wanting to just be exclusive to women because I wanted to be inclusive. But I also wanted to kind of look at the term babe and how so often it is sexualized.
Yeah.
And so often it is almost derogatory. Like, okay, babe. Like it can be so patronizing. It can be so like just misogynistic at times.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was kind of like Bold Babes and women's history and kind of like standing up against the patriarchy in my own tiny little way in like the corner of the world, to be like, bold babes are people that get to claim the title of babe and reclaim it for themselves, to say, no, you're not going to hypersexualize me. You're not going to shame me. You're not going to tell me that my body is too big or too small. You're not going to tell me that I have too much hair on my arms because I'm of European descent. Like, you're not going to do it to me. I get to claim my body. I get to claim my babehood, and I get to be bold in that statement. And so I just felt like it was really important to put that in people's hands. I feel like my narrative has been told for me so many times in my life. You're just the blah, blah, blah. You're too this. You're not enough that. You're always going to be whatever. And so part of what I love about this is like, you get to pick your picture and you get to write whatever you want about why you believe you're a bold babe. And for the people that have said to me, I have no answer to that, I walk through it with them a little bit, because I'm like, absolutely not. I picked you for a reason. You are. So we're going to dig into this a little bit together to try to figure out why you're a bold babe. And so some people are super comfortable with it. And they're like, I'm bold because, and I'm like, yeah, you are. But then other people are really so timid. And actually one of my favorite ones that I haven't posted yet is a mom of 3 kids with autism that I worked with their kids. She was with us for Project 52 things. She's featured in one of our autism documentaries, and she's just a really, really special person. And she was one of the people who said, like, I don't know what to say to this. And I was like, get out of here. You have 3 boys with autism. There's no way in hell you're not a bold babe. Come on. And so she ended up writing this like prolific thing that I was like, see, all because you just sat with it and dispelled the discomfort. So often I think especially as, I'm going to say women, but it also includes people who are living their non-binary experience, people who are trans, and some men. I don't want to say no men, but I think it's a very unique experience to just try to make yourself smaller to please other people. And I don't think the average white cisgendered man has that experience for the most part. And so I just think there's something really, really powerful about inviting a person into their power and saying, go on and claim that, because it's yours. Yeah. And you get to call it whatever you want to. And for them to be like, hell yeah!
Yeah. I'm allowed?
Yeah, like it's this amazing permission that doesn't need to be granted. And yet once somebody grants it, it like opens the doors for people. Like some people, not everybody. Not everybody needs the invitation. They're like, I'm bold all the damn time. And I'm like,
down the door.
Yeah, you are. But other people really do need that permission because they're so used to being the back burner or item number 1,000 on their list of things to do that they don't even think of themselves at all, let alone, why are you bold? Why are you brave? Why are you somebody that other people look up to? And so I just think there's something really incredible about the power of those people once they kind of reclaim their own identity.
That's all. Is this project, I know it started for March, Women's History Month. Is this going to be something that goes throughout, or are there going to be different like features every month to kind of match the theme of the month, the theme of the box? That's
a really good question. I think that, I don't want to say with any definitive answer like what it's going to be because I don't know. Like I'm hoping that the Holy Spirit and the creative spirit and the Earth Mama Goddess, like whoever wants to fuel my passion, go for it, baby. Like I think my like heavenly muses are speaking to me. So I can't say definitively it will, it won't, whatever. I'm just trying to be open to all things that are kind of put into my consciousness, I guess. But I will say that I want to do I am a babe workshop. So that is going to be coming soon, that we are going to be doing it over Zoom first, but then people that are based on Long Island, or I guess in the 5 boroughs, if you want to come travel, I would be having in-person gatherings when it is safe to do so. So probably more in 2022, unless we can do it outside and far apart. But I would be looking to do I Am a Babe workshops where we actually do like meditation and a little bit of art therapy and a little bit of really getting in touch with all of the different sides of ourselves. Again, kind of embracing that duality that I talked about. And that way we can kind of say like, I am a sad babe. I am a chronically ill babe. I am a loud and bodacious babe, like to really just, and it doesn't have to be alliterative. That's just my thing, but you can be whatever kind of babe you want to be. But I think there's, again, that power of taking back your identity. Because again, so many times in my life, I have been told who I am. And unfortunately, I've believed them. I believed so many people about who I am that at this point in my life, I'm like, no, no, you're not gonna, and I don't have
to. So just to kind of sum up and wrap up everything, we've talked a lot about where this came from, the idea, what's going on now, but I know we've talked about like projections for the future and where you can really see this project growing to. And I wanted to know if you wanted to talk a bit about some of the plans you have or the ideas that might seem a little big now for just starting, but what you could really see this Pep Talks growing to.
Yeah. So it's a neat thing because Pep Talks can be alliterative with so many things. So it's really like the sky is the limit. But I see poetry nights, I see paint nights, I see a community garden that we do like Pep Talk planting. I see a lot of different ways that this can grow to be something really special. And I think one day, God willing, this is going to be not just a small business, but also a nonprofit. And that way we are able to do real community work and not just give either a portion of our sales or like an outright donation to charities, but to actually be able to host like pampering days for like guardians of people with autism and other special needs, to be able to host pampering nights for like caretakers for people with dementia. Like there are people out there that need a night for themselves or a day or an hour or a meditation, or they need time for themselves to just feel like a person separate from their role in life. And I think that I have so many ideas for the future, and I just really hope that the money lasts to kind of like get us to those next steps, because I do have a 10-year projection. I can't believe I'm saying it on camera, but I have a 10-year projection of like all the different ways this can grow. And I just keep kind of listening to Michael's words of, why aren't you taking that leap of faith? Go ahead, take that leap of faith. And so I'm just kind of following the lead of many great women ahead of me that have done amazing things and have not behaved well and have made history. So I'm not looking to make the history. I'm just looking to do some small things with great love. And that's really it. But my hope really is that this grows so much more. And there is a special initiative that we are going to be launching this Friday on my birthday. Actually, it's the day that this podcast drops.
Today, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. Today. That's how I should say it. You're right. That we'll be introducing a new something.
So thank you so much for talking about all of this. And I know you have another podcast ready to go. Do you want to like plug it or tune in next time? Like, what is this going to be about? Give a little teaser trailer.
Yeah, that's right. All right, a little teaser for y'all. Yes. So first, I just want to say that today you served the role of like interviewer, host extraordinaire with all of your questions prepared and everything. But the next time you're on, we're having a conversation. It's not going to be like that. We're actually going to talk about things, because I was like, wow, you're so good at this. My gosh.
First time, guys.
Exactly. But for real though, like it's so funny because I was like, oh my God, I'm like, excuse me, Gail? Yes, okay. I felt like I was legit like answering like, yeah, I felt intimidated a little bit. Yes, so the next time you're on, we're talking about something like fun. Not that this wasn't fun, but you know what I mean. So a plug for next time. Okay, well, it's Lent. And so as part of our Catholic faith, I am talking with one of my closest friends, Lena, and we talk about the role of women in the church.
Very interesting.
And so I will say this is not specifically for Catholics. And so if you're not a person of faith and you're watching this and you're like, God, what? Come on. Like, you're talking about church stuff on a podcast? That's obnoxious. But I think, honestly, like, part of what we're talking about is actually why people leave the church. Because if people are leaving the church because of gay rights, if people are leaving the church because of women's rights, these conversations need to be had. And they can't just be had outside the church walls. Where like, okay, you're gone now. So Lena and I love the church enough to ask those hard questions and to kind of hold up a mirror to say like, is this working? If not, what are we doing? And to like put our words into actions. So to pray, to talk about it on a podcast is really putting ourselves out there in like kind of a vulnerable way that people could be really upset about this or really like, this is controversial. Oh my gosh. Like, we're not trying to say things to upset people. We're saying things because it's genuinely on our heart. And so I think if more people that were upset by the church stayed and challenged and stayed and grew curious and stayed and challenged the powers that be in ways that were healthy and constructive and helpful, I would really love to see what a changing church could look like by way of all of the voices of the people that are hurting. And not just, well, these are the people that stayed, so this is what we do for the people who stay. Because church is so much bigger than just one group of people. Jesus is for everybody. So I think that next podcast is going to be really interesting. It's more in alignment with like the flow of our podcast in terms of like a conversation rather than like, I'll answer all the questions. Very interviewing. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm super excited to drop that at the end of the month. And I already have our topics and our guests through like August.
So excited.
So, yeah.
Can't wait to tune in.
I'm super psyched. So, yes, thank you so much, Heather. And thank you, everyone, for watching.
That's a wrap.